Before I get into the topic at hand, I'd just like to say a little thing. I love Breath of the Wild. I think it's a great open world experience. I love the villages. They feel like they're so big and you can explore them so much. Plenty of people to interact with. I love the world itself. So much to explore, so much to find. It feels like you're rewarded for every nook and cranny that you search, and there's always something good. Nothing feels like it's worthless. I think it's a great game. But sadly, with this game and how it's structured, there are a few things I don't really like about it. As you can guess from the title of the video, that's what I'm going to talk about, the problems with Breath of the Wild. Now, the first three ones are more problems than the last two ones are more nitpicks, just so you know. Okay, the first, not the worst, but one of the worst problems is no real dungeons. For me, I said this in one of my earlier Let's Plays, that I feel like a Zelda game without dungeons is kind of like icing without cake, and just no interesting dungeons. The Divine Beasts are kind of cool, but just none of those big labyrinths like I'm used to that are in regular Zelda games like Twilight Princess or Ocarina of Time, A Link to the Past, A Link Between Worlds, Skyward Sword, and so on. Just doesn't have that same labyrinth experience. There's Hyrule Castle. I thought that was really cool, but otherwise you could argue that I can hear some of you typing in the comments saying, well, there are a bunch of shrines, and if you add those all up, it's kind of like a big dungeon experience. Now, it's time for some math. The dungeons take like a few minutes to complete, or at least the easy ones. When they get hard, that maybe 10 minutes at the most if you're really struggling. But otherwise, they're just plainly easy concepts, and just they barely take that much time to complete. And yeah, honestly, I believe there's 120, so if it's like only a few minutes for 120 small mini dungeons, it only ends up being like 120 minutes, which it's like it could be like a few dungeons in a Zelda game, but again, I just prefer a big dungeon to explore, not just mini dungeons scattered all across the place. Anyway, that's my first complaint. Second complaint, and this one is one of the ones I do not like. I'm actually not sure what's the biggest problem in the game, but I'd like to say this is my least favorite thing about the game, and it's the weapons have the most horrible durability. The weapon durability system in the game is horrible. It's absolutely horrible. The weapons barely last that long. Some people are like, they defend it and they're like, oh, it rewards you to keep being on your toes and exploring for new weapons. Some people, I guess it's a personal preference, and it's okay, I guess, but for me, that's the absolute problem. My weapons keep breaking, and I'm always on the hunt for new weapons. For instance, I get an awesome electric sword, I'm like, yeah, get electric sword, kill the goblins and stuff, and just breaks like a twig within like 5 minutes. So I'm like, seriously, like, it barely has that much durability. Have it more like Minecraft, where it lasts much longer than like 5 minutes. And also, how the weapon durability is gauged, you don't even get told how much weapon durability there is until like it takes 4 hits to break the weapon. Like, just before it's about to break, it's like, oh, your weapon's about to break, oh no, then it breaks. And just, I'd like to have it like Minecraft, where it has a little durability gauge near the bottom, so that you can actually know if your weapon is about to break. But yeah, there's barely that much durability, and it's just totally horrible. Now, third, and again, I think these are all balanced when it comes to how much they ruin the game. Actually, it doesn't really ruin the game, never mind. It's more just thing that doesn't make the experience as good as it should be, in my opinion. But third is there are no interesting bosses. Let's face it, the bosses in Breath of the Wild get pretty old pretty fast, except for the man-beast things. I forget what they're called. I don't remember how to pronounce the names, to be honest, but those are pretty cool, but like seriously, they're like the only really cool bosses in the game, except for Calamity Ganon near the end. And let's see, what I'm trying to think of the individual bosses. They're the weird giant goblin weird dudes. Those get old pretty fast. They're pretty simple and honestly kind of generic. They're these weird Cyclops things. They're just get old fast. And the second kind of enemy is the big rock monsters. When I saw it at E3 2016, I believe that's when it's... Yeah, that was when it's revealed. Breath of the Wild was revealed, but I thought it looked pretty interesting, but again, it kind of wears off out. There are different variations, but just it never gets really exciting. It's just a simple, well, oh, stun it so that when it drops to the ground, you jump on top of it and hit the little rock or thing that's on its back. That's pretty much it. And visually, the bosses, in my opinion, they don't really get any more interesting, except for the new variation, like the man-beast things, and otherwise, the end. That's it. There isn't much variety. Like, imagine the desert there being a big sort of scorpion thing, kind of like in Skyward Sword, something like that. The desert being like a big dragon or something, and the water areas, or near Zora's Domain, imagine being like there being giant krakens or whatever. Imagine that, but no, not really. There aren't that many interesting bosses. And now to the nitpicks. Don't worry, these are not that bad. Fourth is, there aren't really much interesting weapons. There are the runes that you get. Those are pretty interesting, but there's like no hook shot or claw shots, depending. That's different from Ocarina of Time and Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess. And Fire Rod, the weird spinner thing that you get in Twilight Princess. Just no interesting weapons like that. It's just a tiny nitpick, though. It doesn't ruin it at all, or it doesn't make it bad. Again, I'd like to point out, they don't necessarily ruin or make the game bad. Just something I don't really like, and doesn't make the game as enjoyable as something like Twilight Princess, which is like one of my favorite games of all time. I know it's kind of weird. Everyone's like, oh, it's Ocarina of Time or Skyward Sword or Breath of the Wild, and I'm like, no, just Twilight Princess. It's totally better, but that's a video for another day. And fifth is the voice acting. It's not really horrible, but just the people in the voice actors, they just don't sound like they're into it at all. They doesn't sound like there's any passion or they're putting any heart into it. Just, for instance, Urbosa, I believe I'm pronouncing that right. Just, for instance, after you meet her in the Naboris, just when she's saying, I cannot wait till we face Calamity Ganon. Oh boy, just, she sounds dull and just doesn't sound like she's into it at all, or if she's even excited, and more like she's faking it. Just doesn't sound right, and doesn't really sound that good. But anyway, guys, here's my 5 things that I don't really like about Breath of the Wild. Again, these do not ruin it at all. I still think it's a great game. There's just things that I don't really like about it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you enjoyed what I said and agree with me, please leave a like. It really helps me out. Please share this with anyone you think might enjoy this, and subscribe if you want to see more content, and if you want to check out my Majora's Mask playthrough, click right here. Hey guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.